38 Special versus 9mm and snub nose revolvers. I got my Taurus 2-inch revolvers out here today. My Taurus 605 to test our 38 Special and my Taurus 905 to test the 9mm. Essentially identical revolvers with different chamberings here. So what I have today is our Winchester defense ammunition. This is the basic like USA style defense. So what we have for our 9mm is a 115 grain jacketed hollow point, and for our 38 Special plus P, and that is a plus P, we have a 125 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. So to get this out of the way here before anybody complains, this is the only variants they come in. I can't get a plus P version of that 9mm, and I cannot get a standard pressure version of that 38 Special. So what we have here for our rated velocity with our 38 Special, I'm gonna take a look here, see what we got. It says in the box 945 feet per second. With our 9mm, our rated velocity is 1165 feet per second. I believe both of those ratings are through 4-inch barrels though, but we'll see what we get in the snub nose revolvers here. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. I'm going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential is of those cartridges are. You know, no denim or anything like that to clog a hollow point. And then after that, I'm going to do more of our real world simulation where I put on 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, we'll have a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard that's going to represent hitting ribs or sternum in the clear ballistics. That'll be more of our real world simulation. And then I am going to shoot at my steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, so I'm about 5 yards from the target. Let's see what we get with our 38 Special 125 grain. 862, 848, 848, 872, 851. So that's pretty average velocity for something like that. So let's see what we get with our 9mm, and this is 10 grains lighter of a bullet here. 1080, 1018, 1046, 1039, 1029. So even though that bullet's 10 grains lighter, we can obviously tell there's a lot more energy with that 9mm. A little bit more recoil though. So let's hit our ballistics gel block, see how these compare. All right, so first up we'll do our best potential shot, you know, no denim or anything like that, just to give the bullets the best chance to get hollow point expansion and all of that. So first up we have our 38 Special. Let's see what this does. All right, let's hit that with our 9mm. Let's go take a look. All right, so there's definitely a different performance going on there. We have a lot more energy dump with our 9mm for sure. So I'm going to flip this around to the other side here. We can see on top here our 9mm had a really good energy dump. Our 38 Special is still pretty good, but it's not as good as that particular 9mm. So what we got going on here is a really straight line penetration. We got a semi-jacketed type mushrooming going on with our 38 Special, as with our 9mm. We have actual, you know, pedal expansion. So what we got going on here, very straight line. It's not bad performance overall with our 38 Special. We have 16 3/4 inches penetration, but with our 9mm we have a lot better expansion, a lot better damage in there because there's more energy, and we're at about 14 1/4 inches of penetration. So pretty typical for what you see with both calibers. So let's put it on our denim, put it on our MDF, see how they compare in more of our real world simulation. All right, 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, and then a 1/4 inch MDF to represent ribs or sternum. This is where sometimes that semi-jacketed comes into play. You know, I can't be for certain what's going to happen because the velocity is pretty low with this, but sometimes semi-jacketed wants to mushroom out even if it gets clogged because it's a soft tip. But we'll find out what happens. 38 Special to our denim MDF. All right, let me set that back up a little bit and then we'll hit it with the 9mm. All right, 9mm through denim and MDF. Let's see what this does. Let's go take a look. All right, so that's very interesting. That's a weird kind of thing going on here. Our 38 Special basically did the same thing, but went a little bit deeper, as where our 9mm went a lot deeper, and it significantly changed that expansion. So we're going to take a look here at our MDF, our rib simulation here. Can't really tell a whole lot from this, other than we can tell that the 38 is mushrooming out just a little bit, and our 9mm is expanding out just a little bit. So what we're seeing here, though, with our 38 Special is something that's very consistent. The bullet almost looks identical to the way it did in plain gel. Our damage maybe slightly greater, but very similar. So instead of that plain gel of getting about 16.5, we actually got about 17.5 with our 38 Special. Through the Denim MDF, the bullets look very similar. With our 9mm, that denim affected that a little bit more. And that's what I was thinking, you know, with that soft tip of that 38, you know, it doesn't really matter if denim is in that hollow point or not. The hollow point more or less is there just to crush in because it's a soft tip. So we had something consistent going on. With our 9mm, it's not as consistent, and we still have more damage, no doubt. We have more damage with that 9mm. So that did pretty good, and we did not over penetrate. Our expansion is a little bit, you know, it's not uniform, but it's still got some wicked petals going on, and we hit exactly 18 inches. So honestly, these both did pretty well in their own right for what they are. Obviously our 9mm, I guess it did better, but our 38 was a little more consistent. So overall, both did pretty good. And you got to remember, this is not a competition. I mean, it is for some people when they really want to decide what's the better carry option, but honestly, both of these did pretty good. So let's take a close-up look at these, and then we'll shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get on steel. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets here through our plain gel. This is our 38 Special here, and you know, just kind of trumpeted out, like as I like to call it. You know, it just comes out a little bit versus its original size. So it's not a very big expansion, but it is some deformation and expansion. With our 9mm here, a lot bigger expansion. We have some wicked petals on one side. Actually, on the other side, we had one that busted off a little piece there. There might be some more in that channel, actually. But there is a difference there. So our 9mm expanded a little bit bigger. Now going through our MDF and denim, our 9mm, a little bit weird expansion going on. We have two petals going upward, one going to the side. And interesting with our 38 Special, very consistent. It did about the same thing as it did in the plain gel, except we have some denim in that, still clogged in that, but yet it mushroomed out. So it didn't matter that it clogged, because that soft tip allows for the expansion to go on. So very similar size overall, very consistent here. So honestly, both of these did acceptably, and I say that because, you know, even though this has less than 1.5 times expansion, and this one through the plain gel obviously has more than that. I don't know about this one yet because I haven't measured them. Statistically, our 9mm did better, but because they did not over penetrate and they both expanded a little bit, I say that they both did better. Both did pretty good. Both are acceptable. I don't know what it is about 9mm fanboys, but whenever I say, you know, our 9mm did a little bit better and our 38 did okay, like, they're kind of angry that I didn't say that 38 Special is the worst trash there ever was, and I'm biased because I said it was even close to the performance of 9mm. I never really understood that, why people get so mad about stuff like that, but I call it like I see it. Both of them look like they did pretty well. You know, I think both would be pretty effective. You know, the 9mm I think would be a little more effective in this case, but it's one of those things where, is it going to be significantly more effective than this in a real world situation? My gut feeling says probably not. There's not enough difference between the two. But our 9mm did just a hair better, I would say. So that's a close-up look at those bullets. All right, 12 yards from the target, my favorite distance from getting a nice overall feel if I had to fire more than one shot. So let's see what our 38 Special does. All right, shoots good for me. 9mm. Almost identical in the overall recoil. I'm able to kick most of those out with momentum, so I don't even need my moon clip, honestly. So let's back it up a little bit, see how they continue to shoot for me. All right, 40 yards from the target. I actually had someone complain recently that I never shoot from 40 yards anymore. And the reason why I haven't been in the past couple months. In summer, this lighting gets really harsh, and putting this camera this way where the only place I have to set it, because if I go the other way, there's a bunch of junk over there. I don't like that in my camera frames. But when I put it this way, it gets super dark. That's why most of the time I'm going the other direction. But, you know, 40 yards, you can deal with these harsh shadows. Let's see what I can do here. 40 yards, 38 special. All right, a little bit left shooting just for me. It could just be me. 9mm. All right, about the same again. And the thing is that this trigger is like twice as hard to pull as my 605 because I've been shooting that for 5 years. So it's really loosened up. This thing is out of the box. You know, I don't know what the poundage is on it, but it's probably something like 15 pounds. That's where this is like, I don't know, 7, 6. It's really light for a trigger. So just for fun, let me back it up a little bit further and shoot the steel from them. I'll do 75 yards like I normally like to do. All right, 75 yards from the target. The reason why I do this is mostly for fun. The reason why I started doing this, though, initially was because many years ago I was shooting from this distance and somebody's like, a snub-nosed revolver is no good beyond 3 feet. You can't hit anything further than that. I'm like, really? So I just started shooting from this distance at targets, and yeah, I found that to not be true. But also, when I unboxed this 9mm revolver, I shot some FMJs through it, and I did terrible at this distance. I'm thinking possibly the hollow points would do better because, you know, FMJs, they'll spin, but the weight is kind of distributed throughout the whole bullet. As we're in a hollow point, it's more towards the back. So like a spinning football, hollow points are actually a little more accurate at distance. So I am curious if I can make any hits with that 9mm revolver. So we'll start with our 38 special. I'm going to do some single action for fun. See if I can make any hits. A little bit low. A little bit to the left. So I'm going to put some more rounds in here. I'll go double action. Sometimes that helps me out because I get a better squeeze on the grip here. So keep going. All right, firing a little bit too fast there. I think some of them went over the target. So I'll try a few single action with this 9mm. See if our point of impact is similar in single action here. So let's see what I can do. All right, so honestly, they're kind of going all over the place for me. Don't know why. Oh, all those rounds fell out, so I got my makeshift loader here. Old 9mm magazine. Load this back up. All right, I'll try a little bit harder, but I'm going to try in double action. So they're shooting. It's weird. I don't know if they're shooting high or low because I had one go high, one go low. So I'm just going to aim center mass here. A little bit high. So I've had 2 go high and 1 go low. So I'm going to aim a little bit low. High again. Interesting. I'm going to have to go single action. So not very consistent for me. So I don't know. The trigger on this, like I said before, is horrendous. It is hard to get a consistent trigger press on this. It is super harsh. And even in single action, when I go back to single action, that's a little bit hard. So this thing's got to be broken in a little bit. And that's the thing about Taurus. They can be good guns, but, you know, Smith & Wesson, when you get stuff like that, they actually refine everything. They get everything stoned out in the inside, with the polish and everything out. But with the Taurus, it's like they just manufacture it, and here you go. But if you take one and you shoot it for several years, like I did with the 605, it's every bit as smooth, actually a little bit smoother than a Smith & Wesson trigger press. So it's not bad overall. But back to this ammunition, 9mm versus 38 Special and Revolver. I don't know. I don't know what I think is better here. Now, I can definitely see how somebody might have a 9mm semi-auto pistol as a backup. And, you know, and like you saw here with something like this, you can take your magazine and top off that revolver. So that's, I guess, a benefit if you want to have a backup revolver to your, like, Glock 19 as your primary or something like that. I can see how that's a good option. That being said, it's not that hard to pick up 38 Special ammo and put it in a revolver and have some extra reloads for that. But looking at the ballistic performance here, yeah, our 9mm did a little bit better, and that's just simply because it's more powerful. It's simple as that. And it's interesting, you know, 38 Special and 9mm have, you know, a lot of times they have about the same amount of gunpowder in them. Actually, if you look at load data, if you take some cheap powders, and ammo companies like this are probably using cheap powders, and you take a powder charge for a standard pressure 9mm and you overlap that to the powder charge for a 38 Special, it'll make that 38 Special a plus P. But because the case is so long, you're barely getting over 17,000 psi, as where the 9mm standard pressure is like double that. So yeah, that's why you have a little more power in the 9mm. However, because the powder levels are about the same, inevitably that makes that recoil about the same between the two. You know, the increased pressure doesn't really jump that recoil up much at all. So looking at these, yeah, 9mm did better, but there are some practical aspects to the 38 Special that make it a little bit better. You know, it's easier to load and unload and get speed loaders for it. With the 9mm, you're not going to get a speed loader for it. You're going to have to stick with getting certain moon clips, and if those moon clips bend or break, you have other issues. And then if you don't have a moon clip, you got to find a way to extract them and reload them, which, you know, it can be done. It's not that huge of a deal, but basically my rundown is here that the 9mm and the terminal ballistics performance is a tad better, but our 38 Special is very consistent, and getting one and getting it running and keeping ammo in it and just having a good time is a little bit easier after 38 Special. So one's really not better than the other here as an overview. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.